If you're fresh in the workforce and feeling lost, then this Adulting 101 series is made specially for you. Welcome to my YouTube channel, and for today's episode of Adulting 101, I'm going to be covering what you must know about personal finance. So I'm going to be introducing you to 4 simple concepts, which is all you need to keep in mind. Ready? Let's go! If you're new to my YouTube channel, my name is Dawn and I'm your favorite financial mama. I've been doing this for 10 years and counting, so come along and learn with me. Alright, the first concept you gotta remember is budgeting. Now, why is this so crucial? I've met so many people who, even in their 30s and 40s, some in their 50s, they feel really lost when it comes to managing their money. They don't know where their money goes each month, and they're always wondering why they never seem to have enough savings, even though they take home a pretty decent salary. All this makes planning for the financial future pretty impossible. So to do that and avoid what they did, you gotta first start with budgeting right. You see, a budget is your roadmap. It helps you to prioritize your spending, ensure you can save for future goals while still covering all of your current needs. Without it, you're sailing without a map. It's gonna be easy to get lost in the sea of financial uncertainty. So to help you, consider using apps like Dobbin, You Need a Budget, or Singapore's very own Sidley. These tools help you to categorize your spending automatically and help you adjust as you go. Many of the banks have also developed their own simple expense tracking apps, so there's no excuse for you not to use at least one to help you get better control of your finances. These will all allow you to take care of not just your monthly expenses while still saving for that dream vacation that you want to go on at the end of the year, or even your new down payment on your new home. Do you want to be like Sarah, who uses budgeting apps like Dobbin to track every dollar and her savings and set financial goals? She is stress-free during emergencies and enjoys yearly vacations without having to worry about running out of money at the end of every month. Mike, on the other hand, is always YOLO and never quite knows where his money goes. As a result, he often finds himself ending up short even before the month is over, and frequently postpones things like repairs and cancels out on trips with his friends because he's worried about losing face in front of them, or simply doesn't have enough money to go on the trip. So, who do you want to be, like Sarah or Mike? Next up on the list, number 2 is emergency funds. Now imagine this, your fridge breaks down or you face a sudden emergency medically. Without a safety net, you're basically looking at potentially cooking debt. You'll have to either go and take a loan to buy a new fridge or not have a fridge, which is even more difficult. And when it comes to hospital bills, it's not as if you can postpone paying that or postpone that surgery, especially if it's going to be one that can save your life. Life can be quite unpredictable, and emergency funds act like a financial safety net that catches you when sudden expenses fall out of the sky. Ideally, you'll want to keep at least 6 months worth of living expenses. Now, the advice on this can vary depending on whose information you're consuming online, but it's important to find a number that works for you. Because this number, how many months worth, has to be one that provides you with a peace of mind and keeps you stable enough during life's unexpected events. Without it, you'll be forced into taking high interest debt, which can quickly spiral into more severe financial troubles. So I actually learned this lesson firsthand when my mom was retrenched during the Asian financial crisis, and she had to turn to borrowing from her credit cards and relatives in order to tide over the period. Interest rates were no joke. Credit cards today charge upwards of 27% per annum, which can quickly snowball into a 5 or 6 digit debt. That was my mom in the 1990s with the Asian financial crisis, but guess what? My friends later on in the 2000s era also went through the same thing. And with the recent wave of retrenchment, even now as we're in the 2020s, you really need to start looking at building and taking your emergency funds seriously. I had a few friends who were laid off from their jobs despite being in their 20s and 30s during the recent wave of tech layoffs. And for those who had bothered to actually build their emergency savings while they had a job beforehand, they could actually focus on building a CV, finding jobs, sending out the job applications, and basically focus on finding that next job that would give them a good income. Whereas those who didn't but still had bills to pay, it's not as if they can say, sorry bank, sorry electricity provider, I've just lost my job, I have no money to pay you. It doesn't work that way. So in those cases, those who still had bills to pay but didn't have emergency savings to fall back on, some of them went to drive Grab or they worked part-time as a food delivery rider. They just had to find some ways to make ends meet and earn money to get by? Who do you think will have more focus in landing that next good job? So really, don't underestimate your emergency funds, okay? I personally built for 6 to 12 months worth when I was in my 20s, and now as a mom where I have to support both my elderly parents and young toddlers at the same time, my emergency funds have grown accordingly to cater for 18 months worth. So the third thing I want you to look at is your insurance. Now, when we're young and healthy, it's easy to think, hey, nothing bad is gonna happen to us. Even if anything does, we can surely bounce back. We can handle it. I know. I used to feel the same way too. And once upon a time, I too saw insurance as a redundant expense. Okay, but as I got older, wiser, and I started seeing more things happen to the people around me, my friends, my acquaintances, my colleagues, and their extended networks, it really made me realize how important insurance was. And let me just disclaim this, I'm not an insurance agent, so even if you buy or don't buy any insurance plan, I earn absolutely nothing. So here is Budget Babe telling you, as a naggy financial mama, I don't earn a single cent whether you buy your insurance or not, but I'm telling you, you really gotta get it. Well, I'll do a detailed video on insurance the next round, but for a start, think of hospitalization insurance. Thankfully, our government has made Medishield Life compulsory for all of us, but is it enough? In my view, I don't think so. I think most people should really try and go for a private integrated shield plan if you can afford it. Here's why. Because with Medishield Life, there are deductibles and co-insurance, so it may not be suitable for everyone. You do have to pay something first, right? And depending on how big your bill is, these may actually come up to more than what you can afford. Let's not even talk about like the type of hospital, public versus private, or even like the type of ward that you want, okay? But let's talk about really real bill stuff. You know, Medishield Life has capped claim limits. It is, after all, a national insurance pool, okay? So, for instance, if you're removing a Macclellan tumor, okay, and your surgery falls under the Ministry of Health, Table 7C, link down below, you can only claim up to $2,600 from your Medishield Life. What if even your emergency funds are not enough to pay for this? What if your bill ends up being longer and more complicated and more expensive than what you expected? Well, without insurance, that's on you. So, as a young adult with limited savings, will you actually have enough to pay if or when it happens? Here's another example, accidents. A 20-year-old agile young man was knocked down just a few months back by a motorcycle in Singapore while crossing the road. And mind you, he did not break any traffic rules, okay? What happened was that not only did that require him to undergo surgery, but it also ruptured his spleen. So according to his sister, he is now reliant on antibiotics for life. That's a cost that has to be paid, right? We're not just talking about the financial cost, there's so much other costs that haven't been factored in. Give you another example. There was a 28-year-old man, very active, into music, and he was performing with his band when he accidentally fell off the stage and damaged his spinal cord. This not only racked up expensive hospital bills, surgery fees, but also left him reliant on a motorized wheelchair upon discharge. The poor guy, last year at 32 years old, even got diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer. Without insurance, imagine having to pay all of these bills for yourself, even though it is no fault of yours, like that motorcycle accident. Don't sleep on it. Insurance is actually a really powerful financial shield to help shield you against potential disasters or accidents that could otherwise easily wipe off your savings overnight. Whether it's an accident, an illness, or a disaster, or something that breaks down, having the right insurance policies in place can ensure that you're not left financially exposed. Number 4, and that's the last one, investments. Now in Adulting 101, after you've taken care of your budget, your emergency funds, and your insurance, you want to start looking at investing. Investing, I know, may seem complex and risky and scary. I mean, it's true that it involves risk, but a lot of that risk can in fact be mitigated with enough knowledge and skills, especially over time as you hone that. What's more, here's what you don't know. Not investing can actually be even riskier in the long term because of inflation eating away at your savings. Case in point, my hawker center dates with my husband used to be so much cheaper, where Hokkien Mee used to be just $3 to $4 per plate and drinks were about $1.20 to $1.50. Yesterday, I brought my family of 5 to a hawker center and a plate of Hokkien Mee is now $8 while the drinks were $2.50 each. And this is just within a decade. Imagine the next few decades that I have ahead of me. I won't be surprised if my hawker center meals next time cost $10 to $12 and drinks are $3 to $4. Not gonna be that far away, right? Especially if inflation continues. So what happens if I can no longer work and draw an active income to keep paying for all these higher costs? Then what? Am I supposed to rely on my kids and be a financial burden to them? Hey, let's go out and eat. Okay, son, you pay the bills because mommy's not working anymore. I don't want to burden them like that. So that's why I invest, and that's why investing is so important, not just for me but for you as well. Because whether or not you choose to invest in stocks, bonds, real estate, or even volatile assets like crypto, investing can help you grow your wealth so that you don't have to worry so much about the value of your money being wiped out by rising inflation. There's a mistaken notion that you need to be rich or have some sizable capital first before you can start to invest. That's not true. In fact, in the financial markets, time is your best friend. If you invest early and consistently enough, you can even outperform folks who earn a higher salary than you or invest much later. Take a look at this graphic. In the beginning few years, you can see that these three friends don't really seem to have much difference between the three strategies, but as time goes on, you can see that the amount of time it takes for each of them to cross their first $100,000, and it takes about 10 years, where Kathy is almost half of that. This is assuming that her investing returns are at 5% per annum, which is not super difficult to achieve as well, especially in today's climate. Well, if you're still not convinced, let me describe to you two people I know in their 60s right now who are leading very, very different lives. I've changed their names and gender to protect their identities, but they're real stories, okay? So this Jane, who started investing a small portion of her portfolio regularly from her early 20s and built dividend stocks which pay her passive income. By retirement, her investments have grown significantly and it allows her to still receive money regularly without having to work. While on the other hand, he focused very much on his career in the beginning and kept delaying his investment plans, telling himself that he could always start later and with more money than Jane. Well, in his 50s, he finally woke up and started, but then he fell victim to an investment scam. Because he didn't know any better and because he was greedy by then, anxious for higher returns to make up for all the time that he lost to his peers such as Jane. Now retired, he finds his savings eroded by inflation as well and struggles to maintain his lifestyle. He's worried about the future, whereas Jane isn't. Do you know what looking at all of these people in their older years have shown me? It made me realize early on in my 20s that sometimes when we're young, we really don't know what we don't know. I'll say that again. When we're young, we don't know what we don't know. Actually, I'm in my 30s now and I still don't know what I don't know. I need someone to point it out to me or hear from other people's stories, then I will know, right? So the best way to know what we don't know is to learn from others who have already walked these paths before us, or you can watch this YouTube channel where I share all my learnings and teach you how to avoid financial ruin. So there you have it. By budgeting, you control your money instead of letting it control and dictate you. With an emergency fund, you buffer yourself against the unexpected. Through insurance, you protect yourself and everything that you've worked so hard for, as well as avoid having to pay crazy sudden bills that you can't afford. Finally, with your investments, you allow your money to grow and work for you. So, if you start by implementing these fundamentals today, whether or not you're in your 20s, 30s, or even your 50s, you'll be paving your way to financial security. I started doing this in my 20s when most of my peers wouldn't, and today in my 30s, I'm so glad I did because I'm so much better off for it and no longer worry so much about money as I used to. Now, if you found this useful, do remember to like, share, and subscribe with all your peers and let me know in the comments what you'd like to see in the next video or on this channel. Thank you for watching. Remember to manage your money wisely and let it take care of you.